channel. Tactical to practical. Tactical, jungle survival. Soldiers wage war on a battlefield without borders.
You're having to deal with an enemy that's very hard to find.
Practical, jungle survival. Civilian adventurers learn to endure extreme conditions.
If you're going into any kind of jungle, you need to have an idea of what's out there.
Tactical, concept vehicles. The U.S. military designs tomorrow's war machines.
We like to refer to it as a Humvee on steroids.
Practical, concept vehicles. Civilian motorheads design the dream machines of the future.
This is not an automobile, it's aircraft for the street, it's a fighter for the street.
Tactical, personal security. Future airmen trained to use their hands as weapons of last resort.
Every cadet somewhere down line could be in a situation where they're attacked.
Practical, personal security.
No!
Civilians learn to hold the bad guys at bay.
Size and strength are irrelevant if you know what you're doing.
Tactical to practical. Developed for tactical advantage. Declassified for practical use. Hi, I'm Hunter Ellis. Remote locations like islands and jungles present unique problems in battle situations, with intense weather, dangerous creatures, and enemies using the dense foliage as camouflage. The U.S. military is constantly training to fight effectively out here and survive. Tactical, jungle survival. Training keeps the U.S. military prepared for the exotic battle zones of the world.
Jungle fighting has always been a difficulty because we had to cope with survival first and foremost.
Practical, jungle survival. Training helps civilians stay alive in the wild.
The bottom line is when you're out in this environment, you need to know how to survive in it.
I'm here in the jungles of the Big Island of Hawaii. The U.S. Armed Forces has trained in nearly every climate on Earth, including here. But the first time they actually faced combat in these brutal conditions was over 100 years ago. 1898. Jungle conditions in the Philippines and Cuba are quite new to American soldiers during the Spanish-American War, and quite deadly. Heavy materials like cotton and leather rot easily in the wet climate, causing infections in many soldiers.
Moisture was actually causing them to invite infection and get sick, and that's where they were losing most of the soldiers, was not to the warfare in jungle fighting, but actually to sickness.
After the Spanish-American War, the U.S. military gets more jungle experience by defending the construction of the Panama Canal in 1911. While Panama provides the perfect climate for troops to learn jungle survival skills in the earlier part of the 20th century, the Hawaiian Islands, along with their dense jungles and strategic location, become crucial survival training grounds during World War II. The United States annexes the Hawaiian Islands in 1898. They have been of vital strategic interest ever since.
This location was a gateway to Asia, and the military recognized that, and so it continues to be that gateway and important to the military today.
Today, the largest combined U.S. military presence in the world is on the Hawaiian Island chain.
All hands take your battle stations.
December 7th, 1941. The U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii is attacked by forces of the Japanese Empire. Following the devastating attack, the United States declares war on Japan and begins its assault on Pacific Islands already under Japanese control. But the troops need survival training to deal with the harsh jungle conditions.
It is very different when you put someone in dense jungle. Simple things of navigating in there. You can't recognize terrain features in that type of environment where you can't see 20 feet in front of you in some cases.
While fighting the enemy, troops must also battle their way through dense and sometimes deadly jungles. In spite of all the training, the military has lots of problems in the critical early island battles in the Pacific.
When you're out for long periods of time on long-range patrols, for example, your equipment starts to rot and rust. Your weapons become affected without good cleaning. That's the last thing you want to do, is have your weapon fail. in that kind of climate.
Other factors are the intense heat, humidity, and dehydration that comes with waging jungle warfare.
It doesn't matter that you're in the jungle and you're constantly wet and you're surrounded by water, you're still getting very dehydrated, and water is the most important thing for you to replenish.
But not all of the water is drinkable, so the military develops critical purification technology to hydrate its troops. Today, military water purification technology is in just about every outdoor recreation and camping store. And you can take it anywhere. Products like the MSR Myox Purifier are developed for the military. Now anyone can buy them and have a safe supply of drinking water while camping or hiking.
Now, this water that's collected here in this path, is this potable water?
As it stands right now, no. If you were to drink this just like it is, you'd end up getting very sick and you'd end up losing a lot of very valuable fluids, which could actually kill you just from dehydration alone.
Mykel Hawke, or Hawk as he likes to be called, is a special operations soldier for the U.S. military and has served in Afghanistan and many other theaters of war, including the jungles of Panama. Today, he uses his skills to teach jungle survival to civilians around the world.
Until recently, most of the filter systems that we've used have been a combination of the chemical treatment, the charcoal, and ceramic filters. And the problem with those was that the filters would eventually become contaminated with bacteria themselves as a culture medium and make people sick. So the latest and greatest that the military has been using, and their main involvement was in the process of shrinking this down so that it'd be, easy for the soldiers to carry.
The Myox works by electrifying salt in a small amount of water. This electrified water is then used to purify a larger amount for a safe drinking supply.
And it still takes, good old-fashioned 20 minutes for it to work.
Okay.
But in that time, it's bonding with all the pathogen cells, breaking down the wall structure, and making that water safe to drink.
But the great thing is this is so small and it's very light, so you're not carrying a lot of weight with you, like a big pump system or something.
Yeah.
We are deep in the Hawaiian jungle, learning some of the tricks for surviving in the backcountry.
You should always try to learn a couple of basic plants that are edible, a couple of basic plants that are medicinal, and definitely make yourself familiar with all the plants that are poisonous.
Right.
But the easiest thing to rely on is distasteful as it is to most Westerners' palate, are insects. They're plentiful, they're everywhere, and almost all of them are edible. Any type of place that's moist and warm is a good place to find yourself some critters for chowing down on. But you also got to be mindful that other critters might be hanging out there like snakes, scorpions, spiders. That's one of the reasons why the tropics, while beautiful and full of things you can eat, it's also full of things that can kill you.
While we're looking for food in the jungle, we found a good spot where we'll set up camp and start a fire to cook up some lunch.
Now, this taro leaf right here, you can make clothing out of this, you can make shelters out of this, and you can eat this. The reason I'm touching it with my gloves right now is because it can cause actual inflammation of your mucosa if you were to ingest it as it is. But once you boil it, it neutralizes all the toxins in it and makes every part of this plant, from the leaf and the stem all the way down to the root, edible.
While it's important to know what you can eat, it's just as important to know what to stay away from.
Don't eat the mushrooms because they've been found to contain some spores that can kill you pretty quickly, so we pretty much leave all mushrooms in Hawaii, just leave them alone.
All right, sounds good to me.
After grabbing some kindling wood, it's time to make a fire. To save time, the military has developed something called a magnesium fire starter.
As you know, when aircraft go down, they pretty much burn and there's nothing left.
Right.
And so someone came up with the idea that perhaps the magnesiums that they were using, the magnesium alloys to make aircraft, would make a handy fire starter.
Magnesium fire starters are available for civilians as well. With just a few flecks of metal, we've got a small blaze going. Pretty soon, I'll have my first bite of authentic jungle cuisine. Lunch. You're watching Tactical to Practical on the History Channel. Jungle survival. Technology keeps the U.S. military on the march in unforgiving climates. Jungle survival. Technology helps civilians stay alive in the great outdoors. I'm on a survival mission in the Hawaiian jungle with Hawke, a special operations soldier who teaches weekend warriors how to stay alive in these beautiful and potentially dangerous environments. We've been out here for hours and have found some lunch. Worm soup.
We've got a couple pieces of protein in there. We'll go ahead and add some starches.
Okay.
Good rule of thumb is to always boil everything for at least 5 minutes, but it's always best to be safe and let it boil for 10. Go ahead and pull this off the fire.
Okay.
Let it cool down a little bit.
All right.
And then we can feast.
All right. Or snack.
Kind of get out the first little piece here for you. Should do the honors. Skin them a little bit better, but it tastes a lot like a potato.
It does. Same kind of texture.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if you let it cook a little longer, it might soften up even more.
Absolutely. All right. Now for the fun stuff.
It's time for the main course, boiled worm.
A little protein. Okay, down the hatch.
There you go. Nothing like a worm.
Worm food.
Not bad. You know, a little, it's kind of chewy.
Yeah.
A little gritty.
Yeah.
But lots of protein.
Absolutely, good for you.
All right.
Might as well eat them before they eat you. And this right here, little praying mantis dessert right there. I like that little squirt. Okay.
Yeah.
So this guy right here, I normally pull the legs off because I just don't like the crunch.
Huh?
Yeah, but you know, the rest is...
I like it better than the worm.
Yeah, he's a little bit tastier actually, more flavor. I like that. All the things that we teach and all the things that you'll learn are based on the experiences from the soldiers fighting in the jungles during primarily World War II in the South Pacific. And a lot of it started right here in Hawaii.
During the Vietnam War, these same jungle survival techniques are put to good use, with the military developing special tools, like jungle boots with steel shanks to protect troops from the enemy's deadly spikes, and reinforced cloth for uniforms.
Every 10th thread had a reinforcing thicker thread so that when their uniforms got a little tear, it would actually stop and they wouldn't have their uniforms disintegrating on them like they did during World War II.
Stronger boots and tougher uniforms are a basic need in Vietnam, where the U.S. military fights an enemy that can literally be anywhere at any time.
We were working a 360-degree perimeter. It was no longer the classic forward lines with the enemy on the other side. And that changed things tremendously, and it created small unit action as being the key to success.
Fighting in dense foliage has been so ingrained in the military's mind that woodland green has been the predominant camouflage pattern for many years, up until Desert Storm.
The main thing that we took away from the whole experience in the jungle was the need to blend in with the environment.
The latest camouflage for jungle assignments is created digitally, helping to more accurately conceal warfighters.
The pixelated uniforms that are now being used are also designed in order to offset the ability to detect with infrared capabilities or satellites. So it's become very, very sophisticated.
Modified versions of this new digital camouflage are available to civilians for hunting and mock warfare activities. Today, the U.S. military is thoroughly prepared for merciless jungle climates. At places like the Jungle Warfare Training Center in Okinawa, soldiers learn not only how to fight, but how to survive. Harsh island and jungle environments contain many formidable natural foes. In fact, the king of them all is what created the islands themselves, the volcano. The military has been trying to prevent these forces of nature from destroying towns and lives since before World War II. 1935, Hawaii's Mauna Loa volcano erupts, and the lava flow threatens the town of Hilo. Local geologists propose a radical strategy to try and save the town, sending military aviators to bomb the lava and divert it from Hilo's path.
By collapsing the top of lava tubes, the tube would become clogged up and would overflow, and therefore the supply of lava to the snout of the flow would be reduced and it would stop it.
Today, Hawaii is still one of the best places in the world to monitor lava activity. Military and government agencies and civilians themselves closely watch these powerful natural wonders.
Everybody in the Hawaiian Islands is affected by volcanism because everybody in Hawaii is living on a volcano.
We're at Volcanoes National Park on the Big Island of Hawaii to see how military and civilian agencies keep track of this beautiful but deadly force of nature. So Rick, we got quite a roadblock here. How old is this right here?
This particular piece came down about a year ago.
And then how long does something like this take to cool?
The surface cools very rapidly within a few minutes, so it'll support your weight in a remarkably short period of time, but the interior stays hot much longer. Probably a piece like this would take a couple of weeks to cool down.
Time to get up close and personal with Mother Nature. Channel. Jungle survival. Soldiers wage war with the enemy and Mother Nature. Jungle survival. Civilians learn how to stay alive in extreme conditions. Remote tropical islands, along with their intense jungle climates, are essentially volcanoes popping up from the ocean floor, some dormant and some very active.
Wow, now that's just dumping right into the Pacific down there, right out of a tube?
Yeah, right where the fume is coming up is where the lava's going in. So that's being fed by a tube.
Underground, underneath all this, right?
That's right.
Now give me an idea of the temperature of the lava that's coming out there.
Down here it's probably around 1130 degrees centigrade.
So that's like 2,000, 2,100?
Yeah, you can roughly double it to turn it into Fahrenheit.
Wow.
After a 30-minute hike over ankle-busting dried lava, we've made it to where the fresh lava meets the ocean. This is some of the newest real estate in the world.
Well, how long until the National Park Service has their headquarters right here?
As the lavas have come down and shortened the road, that visitor shack that we saw there has been pulled back repeatedly, so it's on skids.
Okay.
So the park's learned their lesson.
So everything around here is very mobile. Huh?
That's right.
Including the land itself.
Volcanoes are not only a big concern for folks on the ground, but also for aircraft in the sky. The U.S. military keeps a careful watch around the world for smoldering mountains that spew volcanic ash. Ash that could potentially destroy an aircraft's engines.
They fly through that cloud and they encounter this silicon that melts in the aircraft engines and causes problems as far as thrust.
Some planes have actually lost power to all of their engines while flying through this deadly debris and have come dangerously close to crashing.
The lesson out of all this is be aware of where the volcanic ash cloud is and avoid it if at all possible.
Volcanoes can destroy and also create. They are a big reason why the many islands of the world and their magnificent jungles remain so exotic and deadly. Jungle survival, a critical part of the U.S. military's training for dense battle regions. Jungle survival helps keep civilian adventurers safe while doing battle with Mother Nature. Tactical concept vehicles. The military creates prototype trucks for high-tech warfare.
What we want to do is develop a vehicle that has capability to meet multiple missions.
Practical concept vehicles. Automakers develop new designs to excite car buyers.
I think we still have to present to the consumers what the future is going to be.
Since the early days of vehicle design, concepts have been a key tool for the designer. Their main purpose is to shape future trends and test new technologies, and they're essential to showing the public what the modern vehicle will one day look like.
They don't look like the cars we normally drive. They have stuff that we don't have in our cars. And the fact that they point the way to the future.
And the foundation for that future started 50 years ago in Detroit, Michigan. 1954, automotive manufacturer General Motors develops a concept car called the Firebird. The Firebird 1, 2, and 3 inspired generations of car designers.
The GM Firebird was kind of the ultimate American concept car. They were powered by gas turbines. They looked like rocket ships for the road.
The 50s is crowned the golden age of the concept car, as space-age looking vehicles are dreamed up by designers. The military has also been involved in the design of concept vehicles for decades, from the World War II Jeep to today's Hummer.
This is the military's latest concept vehicle, the Smart Truck 3. It's a 7.5-ton command center on wheels. And this new version has features that designers of the original Smart Truck never dreamed possible.
Rigged to the gills with the most outrageous collection of high-tech gadgets and high-power artillery, this concept vehicle would blow away anything you've ever seen in a James Bond movie.
We like to refer to it as a Humvee on steroids.
Designed during the aftermath of September 11th, the military wants the Smart Truck 3 to one day be a multi-mission vehicle for Homeland Security and counterterrorism units. The armored truck has a fully integrated weapon system, all remotely controlled.
So what do we have on board here right now?
What we have on board right here is the Ibis Tech 50 caliber weapon system.
That is cool.
That can be deployed from inside of the vehicle.
This military machine is equipped with basic communication systems like email, internet, and GPS navigational systems. But it's also loaded with heavy-duty surveillance capabilities, from a weapons camera to a multi-lens camera that provides a 360-degree view.
So the Smart Truck 3 was designed with surveillance in mind, correct?
Yes, it was. We have the front-mounted camera, and we have rear-mounted cameras. We have a periscope night vision camera, and last but not least, we have a quad display
And that kind of gives you all around the vehicle, like, for example, here I am. While this could soon be turning heads on the battlefield, its civilian cousin, the International STC, will soon be turning heads on the street. This new version can be used from everything from the Border Patrol to the Forest Service, or if you just want to be the coolest trucker in town.
We've taken the heavy-duty components of the 18-wheeler, given it the flexibility and mobility of what literally would be a light medium-duty truck.
The commercial version will be ready to roll in 2006 and will have a price tag of under $100,000. Concept vehicles appeal to all kinds of people, from the family man to those who want to push automotive technology to the extreme. Meet Gerald Weigert, an advanced vehicle designer who's always had an eye on the future. In the 70s, Weigert creates the concept for the Vector supercar. This speedster uses aerospace technology and military specifications as the backbone of its design and engineering.
This is not an automobile, it's aircraft for the street, it's a fighter for the street, and it's built like that literally.
What really makes the supercar special is the technology that makes it move.
The structure relates to the whole concept of aircraft technology. The car has a very blended, integrated look. The engine is a 6-liter all-aluminum V8. Technically, this is an aircraft engine. It could be used in any kind of a light aircraft. It's capable of up to 800-900 horsepower.
The car's cockpit is like those found in military fighter jets. The dash's display is menu-driven and measures temperatures, pressures, and RPMs digitally. In the late 80s, the Vector concept car goes into production with a price tag of $400,000 to $450,000. Today, the supercar still enjoys an enthusiastic fan base. And now, Weigert has created a new vehicle for the water.
This is a high-tech, futuristic superbike for the water, but it's for today. It's not for the future. It's a concept vehicle that developed into a practical vehicle.
The jet bike mixes cutting-edge motorcycle mechanics with watercraft technology.
It is shaped and designed like a motorcycle. It's very narrow, and yet it's very aerodynamic.
There are several high-concept watercraft vehicles currently in development, including the Sea Legs amphibious boat, a vehicle that can be driven in and out of the water, and the Aquata, a high-speed sports car for the water. Believe it or not, the military's most successful concept vehicle was the Jeep. 1940, the U.S. Army issues specifications for a small, powerful, general-purpose vehicle. They give automakers 45 days to design it. American Bantam Company dreams up the concept Jeep in just 1 week.
They had little 4-cylinder engines. They didn't go very fast. They had 4-wheel drive. Some of them had 4-wheel steering. They could throw them out of airplanes and land them with parachutes, and they were sturdy enough to get in and drive away.
After World War II, the Jeep moves into commercial production and becomes an instant phenomenon. Today, the concept Jeeps keep coming. There's the ecologically clean Treo, a car designed with a hydrogen fuel cell powering all four wheels from dual electric motors. And Jeep also has the rugged-looking Rescue, an urban search and rescue vehicle able to withstand any type of terrain. But even with all the cool concepts, the public still loves the original.
Jeep has this idea of where they want to go with the brand, but the public likes the old ones so much that it's hard for them to, drag us along with them.
There are hundreds of concept vehicles produced every year because designers are always in search of that perfect dream machine. And to accomplish this, the manufacturers are turning to cutting-edge technology. Automakers today are using digital imagery to design the cars of the future. Vehicles are mapped out using computer-aided design, or CAD. At General Motors, they've reduced car design from 3 years to just 15 weeks using supercomputers.
By doing things on computer, you can click a few keys and use your mouse and see it in a matter of seconds.
Once basic designs are created, car makers take their digital design specs and turn them into life-size models. Producing a concept vehicle can cost a company roughly $2 to $3 million. But what will they get for that kind of money? On the History Channel. Tactical, concept vehicles. Monster machines are designed for military missions. Practical, concept vehicles. Innovators test designs of the future on the road and the water. The average budget to build a new model concept vehicle is about $2 to $3 million, and that kind of money buys some pretty cool cars. There's Toyota's pod-shaped personal mobility vehicle, Volkswagen's Concept T, an off-road dune buggy which you can take just about anywhere, and Volvo has a concept for an all-new safety vehicle. The designers of tomorrow build the latest concepts at the Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, California.
Something like this.
Students learn how to design the cars of the future by creating quarter-scale models first. Students do everything from sketching in the 2D world to milling foam and molding clay in 3D. To create these 3D models, their designs are transferred into a computer, and then the data is put into a milling machine where it's etched into a 3D foam model. Jeff Neild, a 6-term Art Center student, is designing a concept car for BMW.
These are the surface ideation sketches, and traditionally BMW has done very organic, rounded forms. And so I want to reinterpret that and offer something that's more futuristic.
Neild and his fellow students are designing futuristic dream machines that consumers will one day drive.
And if it wasn't for concept vehicles, we wouldn't get a chance to really push the industry and push our designs. It's an opportunity for us as designers to experiment and really design what we want to design.
Concept vehicles, providing the military with the technologies of tomorrow and giving civilians a sneak peek into the future. Tactical, personal security. A warfighter's hands are his weapons of last resort.
I mean, we've had a couple of our Air Force pilots that have been down and ended up having to use some of this stuff.
Practical, personal security. Protecting yourself no matter where you are.
No!
There are many types of self-defense, from martial arts like judo and karate, to specific techniques you can learn to get out of dangerous situations.
No!
Being able to defend yourself can make the difference between walking away from an attack or being seriously injured.
You don't always need a weapon to defend yourself. Even in the age of lethal weapons like the M4, hand-to-hand combat is part of basic military training, even at the Air Force Academy.
Every cadet that somewhere down line could be in a situation where they're attacked. Right. And you don't have to be a pilot. You can be walking around anywhere in the world.
The world is a far different place today than in the years following World War II, when American servicemen were welcomed abroad. Now, anti-American feelings can erupt at any time and place, and any American can become a potential target. To keep from becoming targets, Air Force cadets are learning to defend against surprise attacks.
Somebody attacking you does not expect you to resist. That's why they're attacking you.
But it's not only the attacker who has the element of surprise on his side.
Somebody attacks you usually thinks they have control of the situation. As soon as they hit you with the choke, the immediate reaction, boom, 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 has to happen that quick. If I pause with the distract and stop, then you know that I'm trying to do something to you. But I hit you with 1, 2, 3, and it's over.
So one of the key things when you're being attacked is to take control of the situation.
Immediate control.
There is almost no situation Al Weil can't get out of. He's been teaching at the Air Force Academy since before any of these cadets were even born.
Get my butt whooped.
Take my word for it. You don't want to mess with this guy.
I pulled through. Now I've got control of you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm behind you. I've got an arm bar here. I've got Aikido.
Got my arm.
This is an Aikido technique. Right in here. All of those things hurt.
Fighting has been part of man's life since ancient times. His earliest weapons are his own 2 arms. Following the end of World War II, American GIs return home from wars in Japan, Korea, and Vietnam, and bring judo, karate, and other martial arts back across the Pacific. Former soldiers open dojos around the U.S., and it isn't long before martial arts become part of the American mainstream. But martial arts, with their emphasis on form and discipline, are a far cry from the kind of fighting that usually takes place in the streets or in a bar.
In a real fight, unlike in the movies, there's very seldom any back and forth action. The guy who gets the first shot in and presses that initiative and never gives his enemy a chance to defend himself, generally that's what happens. It's an animalistic affair.
I'm learning about real fighting at the Rocky Mountain Combat Applications Training Center, where they teach the finer points of hand-to-hand combat.
You get 2 guys up nose to nose, and it's an intense situation. The only way this is going to come to resolution is someone's got to lose face, or it's going to come to a fight. So you maintain distance. That's number 1. It gives you so many more options.
The school trains people from both the military and civilian worlds. Everyone from federal air marshals to martial arts instructors. It doesn't just let you experience a fight, it requires it. It's a highly effective technique because what you learn under adrenal stress stays with you.
Now, what's the first thing people should know when they're dealing with an aggressor?
You know, the trick to the whole thing is to have the appropriate response to the given situation. If you've got one level of intensity, you want to match that. You don't want to overreact and escalate the situation.
But before a single punch is thrown, you have to practice being on the receiving end of verbal sparring. In this training, it's known as a woof.
What do you want?
A woof would be like, what the hell are you looking at? You know, how you respond determines whether you're a suitable victim. Many people come to our course and they wonder, how the heck are you going to adrenalize me? And even
I have no idea how Bill is going to push my buttons.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing?
You look familiar.
Now things are starting to get really intense.
You want to be sorry about something?
No. What do you want? What can I do for you?
Hey, listen, buddy. I'm just coming up and talking to you. Yeah.
Well, that's fun. Well, you know what? I'm waiting for my buddies right now.
You think you're pretty tough, huh?
Wow, that sure got my adrenaline flowing.
You're a real tough boy, ain't you?
No.
Sometimes the fight moves beyond a war of words.
What do you say we put you in a situation where you get to hit me full force with anything you want, with sticks? You can full on in the groin, full on in the head.
No kidding, like just full contact.
Full contact.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah. Well, I don't know who it sounds good for, but I guess I'll give it a shot.
For full contact fighting, you need to call in the Bullet Man. More than 30 pounds of padding turns this former Marine into a human punching bag.
You never know how you'll react in a fight unless you've experienced full force. Here in this training, they get the adrenaline flowing and allow you to do just that.
This is truly the school of hard knocks. The Bullet Man can dish it out, and he can take it.
Hey, man, you just need to go away.
No, you need to get out of my face.
Hey, I don't want to fight you.
You understand
I don't want to
this?
fight you, man.
Huh?
No, I don't want to fight you.
Around?
Good job.
Cool. That was fun. That's a real rush. I mean, he's coming at me, and I can start to feel that energy. I'm just looking for that hand to come towards me. It was just full force going at it. I'm trying to remember the techniques, but it got very primal. It's definitely a rush. You don't want to use your own two hands for self-defense, and you have a lot of extra cash. You can leave the protection to others by getting your own security detail. Since 9/11, demand for executive protection has taken off in the U.S. and abroad, especially in Iraq.
It's just kind of an explosive mix of people, and then when we add to that kind of the general dislike for the U.S. and for Americans, it just creates a very explosive environment for an American or U.S. contractor in that country.
2003. After Operation Iraqi Freedom, ex-military men take up work as private security agents, protecting Chief U.S. Administrator Paul Bremer and other top officials. Their tactical training comes in handy because being a security agent in Iraq is one of the world's most dangerous assignments. Unlike in the military, these agents can't call in an airstrike when trouble starts. They need the right training in firearms and evasive driving techniques to know how to get out of Dodge. In the U.S., the top executive job comes with its own protective force, the Secret Service. But that wasn't always the case. 1901, after President William McKinley is assassinated, Congress orders the Secret Service to add presidential protection to its original mission of stopping counterfeiters. Today, I'm taking part in a training exercise to experience what it's like to have an executive security detail. These agents are protecting me and instructor Jake Ashton from hidden assailants. As a sergeant with the Army's Protective Services Unit, Ashton protected the Secretary of Defense and senior U.S. military officers.
Walk to me, you're my guest. When you're my guest, you fall within the security umbrella.
Okay.
You know, they're not worried about you, they're just worried about me.
Yeah, I'm disposable.
You just happen to be here.
Right.
Okay.
Being surrounded by guys talking into their hands takes some getting used to. It's no wonder that executive protection is one of the most intrusive forms of security. But a good agent learns to keep the right distance.
And that's what they learn over time with the principal. And you learn their likes and dislikes. That's what we like to call it. And then they adjust their security posture based on that.
Soon, it's time for us to leave the building. But the agents don't think it's safe to go out the side door as planned.
Okay, we're having some security issues out front with some people.
Deal with it. They've spotted something outside, somebody standing around that they don't like the look of, you know, it's making them suspicious.
Over the objections of the security detail, we head out the side exit to our waiting motorcade. We should have listened to the agents. I almost make it to the car door when suddenly a gunman pops out of a trunk. On the History Channel. Personal security. From the streets of Baghdad to Main Street, USA. Knowing how to defend yourself is your best bet for staying out of trouble. I'm being protected by a team of security agents who are on the lookout for bad guys. They need lightning-quick reflexes to stop a would-be assailant.
Abort.
The guy jumped out of the car and started coming towards me, and I heard him yell gun. And I felt a little bit safer, but it was still a pretty scary situation.
Even when you're on the road, you can't let your guard down. So when presidents or VIPs travel, the motorcade is usually the safest way to go. But not always. 1963. The era of presidents riding in open motorcades is brought to an end one tragic afternoon in Dallas, Texas. The assassination of John F. Kennedy leads to sweeping changes in the way that presidential motorcades operate. Today, I'm riding in a motorcade to learn more about how security agents deter potential threats on the road.
Even though this looks fairly simple, it's very complex with 3 cars and this many personnel that they've determined to use based on the threat assessment.
Right.
Because everybody...
How do they assess the threat? Just by indications and intelligence and things like that?
Exactly.
We're going to go ahead and go red route.
But before they get on the road, these agents in training need to practice in the virtual world.
Let's go. He's trying to box in.
Our small motorcade has a lead car, followed by the limo carrying dignitaries in the middle, then a follow car bringing up the rear. By contrast, a presidential motorcade can have as many as 30 vehicles in it.
This is just a basic motorcade formation. It's a limo, which is what we're in. We just nicknamed limo principal's vehicle. Okay. And the follow car pretty much do everything tandem. They can check out road conditions, traffic. And their goal is to maintain their security package, but also blend in with the day-to-day traffic.
But even if you don't have executive protection, you can still defend yourself, no matter how big or how small you are. That's the philosophy behind Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which was started more than 70 years ago by 140-pound Brazilian Helio Gracie, and then passed down to his sons.
Most martial arts emphasize the power and the strength and the speed and the, strongest strike and so on. That would be great if we all were huge people and we could for sure knock our opponents out with a good kick or a good punch. This is hip.
To make up for size, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu uses leverage to get out of tough situations. The Gracies have taught their non-lethal techniques to everyone, from special operations forces to the police.
A small percentage of law enforcement personnel find themselves using the training they do with weapons. 95% of the time they find themselves in a confrontation with an individual is on a hand-to-hand combat situation versus having to shoot somebody.
Nearly 1/4 of the police officers killed on duty are killed with their own weapons. So the Gracies teach specific moves that let cops defend themselves and their weapons while struggling with a suspect on the ground.
Let's say I'm the police officer, and I step up to the suspect and say, "Where's your ID?" "I don't have an ID." "That means you're under arrest." I go for the weapon, but I secure his wrist, trap my own hand, keep the hip away, and he lets it go, otherwise I'll break his arm. Put your hand behind your back. Under arrest. Size and strength are irrelevant if you know what you're doing.
Protecting yourself in a fight isn't just about avoiding punches and kicks. What's going on inside you during a fight is just as crucial. Adrenaline can be your friend or your enemy. How well you control it can make all the difference between winning a fight or getting your butt kicked. After using my adrenaline to subdue the bullet man, I'm ready to cool down. So we get on our Harleys and ride down to a local watering hole.
Good ride, man. All right. Sure thirsty. Well, yeah, I'm ready for one myself.
I had no idea I'd be putting into practice the techniques I just learned. But that's what happens when my friends from the Combat Fighting Center get a biker to challenge me to a fight.
Hey, we're just doing a show, man. Doing a show.
Doing a show about what?
Huh?
Pimps?
What? Yeah.
I remember the techniques. Putting my hands up to defend against any punches and keeping my distance so I don't crowd him.
You want some of me? All I want's a beer.
You want some of me? Come on, get it, man. Hey, you want some of me?
Nice folks here. A lot of nice folks just trying to enjoy their day.
Some of me?
Let me buy you a beer. I don't want anything. I just want a beer. Please just back off.
You're on my list, man. Coming back for you.
Still get the adrenaline.
Personal security. Servicemen and women defend themselves even when their only weapons are their arms. Personal security. On the street or in a bar, civilians have a fighting chance to walk away from danger unharmed.
No! No!
Tactical. Jungle survival. Troops trained to survive on a battlefield without borders. Practical. Jungle survival. Civilian adventurers learn to endure Mother Nature's wrath. Tactical. Concept vehicles. The military develops the war machines of tomorrow. Practical. Concept vehicles. Civilian designers create cutting-edge machines for the future. Tactical. Personal security. Warfighters use their hands to protect themselves. Practical. Personal security. Civilians learn to defuse everything from bar fights to street fights. Tactical to practical. Technology moving from government deployment to everyone's enjoyment.
gunnies shipping out to Afghanistan.
We're saluting the guys and gals in gear of Operation Enduring Freedom. I'm going to check out the smart bomb, iron hose. And on the ground, our guys have got some excellent firepower, too. Right here in beautiful Afghanistan.
Mail call in Afghanistan, tomorrow at 9 on the History Channel.